I want to remain standing for our scriptures today. Just a couple verses out of John. We already read about the women going to the tomb and finding that it was empty. And then later that night, it says that evening the disciples were meeting behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. Suddenly, Jesus was standing there among them, and he said, "Peace be with you," he said. And as he spoke, he showed them his wounds in his hands and on his sides. And at that point, they were filled with joy when they saw the Lord. And again, he said these words, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I am sending you." I want you to turn to your neighbor and give them the title of my sermon and look at them and just say, "All." You can do this. Turn to your neighbor, say, "All locked up." All locked up. These guys were locked up and afraid, and we're going to talk about that here. But before we do, I want you to say hello to 7 people. Freedom Church turned 7 years old this year, so we're saying hello. High five, fist bump, say hello to 7 people. Want to say thank you. Let's just give a shout out to our amazing team and volunteers. I love and appreciate. We got an amazing group of people at Freedom, week in and week out. If you're new here, I hope you felt welcome and encouraged. We got an amazing group of people. They love God and they love Jesus. They love this town, and they just want to come and celebrate every single week. They make it happen here. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. These guys were locked up and afraid. Let me set it up like this. I want to ask this question: who woke up today and said, "Man, I hope today is terrible. I want today to just be horrible, lousy, painful"? No, nobody does that. Nobody wakes up wanting to, even if you have a tough conversation ahead of you, or students, if you have a hard test that you got to take, or different things like that, you want it to go well, whatever it is for your day. But we don't always have a choice on how the day goes, does it? Do we? Well, we do. You get to choose at the end of the day, was it a good or bad day? But the point I'm trying to make is we're not in control of what comes our way during the day. These guys were locked up and afraid, and their day had been going really bad, but then it went really well when they learned that Jesus was alive, and boom, he's standing there with them. But prior to that, on the Friday before, they saw the guy that they had given up everything for, their family, their jobs, their everything. They saw him die. Saturday, nothing. There was silence. They thought he was the one. Now, a lot of them thought he was going to be a political leader, a political savior, a military king that was going to save Israel from Rome and their oppression, and he was a different king. He was not about that nation. He had a different kingdom, a spiritual kingdom that they quickly everything started to compute and make sense when the resurrection happened, when they saw him alive in there. For a lot of us, as I was praying for today, and we've been going through a series called Sevens, and we've been looking at this number 7, not that we're like some big conspiracy theorists on numbers or anything like that, but like God created, and we learned in Genesis, like God, he created in 6 days, and then on the 7th day, he what? Yeah, a lot of us, yeah, so he rested. And he wasn't just physical rest, that he was like, oh, I need to take a break and I'm tired. No, God doesn't get tired. He was creating peace through rest. And a lot of us, our souls are not at peace, because a lot of us, we are not at rest. We are on the go, or we are anxious and we're worried. So we've been spending several weeks talking about that narrative throughout Scripture. And here's what we learn too, is that Jesus, like we're not fully there yet. Like one day we believe that we'll be in eternity where we still got to live on this earth where we can experience and taste peace and taste that goodness, but it's not fully arrived yet either. And as I've been praying for this message today, and as I've been praying over this series as Freedom turned 7 years old, a lot of us, I felt a heavy burden because a lot of our souls are not at rest. We're physically tired. We are emotionally drained. We are hurting, but even more so, I feel like sometimes our souls just weep. And they cry out to God. And they're asking questions, real questions of why and how and when, and do you care, God? And I want to kind of address that today. As we've been going through this series, we learned that there's a lot of freedom found in Jesus. We've just been searching for it in the wrong places, and our soul is never truly satisfied. Harriet Tubman, way back in the day, she said this. She goes, "I freed thousands of slaves. I could have freed thousands of more if they'd only known they were slaves." And we've been waking up. This has been like scales lifting off our eyes to see areas where, hey, I didn't think about that. I didn't see how I was missing out on life. And I've been searching for these other things. These guys were locked up and afraid. It says the disciples were meeting behind locked doors because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders. Why were they afraid of the Jewish leaders? Because they saw them just wipe out and execute Jesus. And now these are the best friends. The next one's on the chopping block. So we would all be afraid as well if we were in their shoes. I want to go through three things today. One is fear locked the door. Fear had that door locked up. They were locked up and afraid. For some of us, that phrase, locked up and afraid, that's you right now. You're in church, and you're like, oh my goodness, what did I walk into? And the defense walls are up. No one's coming in, and we're a little bit afraid of what might happen. Some of you, that describes locked up and afraid your relationship with God. Because for whatever reason down the road, or a while, he hasn't come through like you wanted him to or like you expected him to, and the walls are up, and he is not allowed in. And we are locked up and a little bit afraid. For some of us, that's the way we are with others. We have relationships that are strained, and we have been deeply wounded and hurt. And so the defense walls are up. We're locked up and afraid. Here's what we see today, that Jesus wants to encounter you today, no matter what walls you have up, no matter how locked up or what you've gone through, and he wants to speak a message of peace. See, what gets us locked up and afraid is because we will focus on what the enemy, we'll focus on the enemy's size, we'll focus on the enemy's voice. They were afraid of the Jewish leaders and how big and powerful they were and what they are capable of doing. But we have the same thing in our lives, where we will listen to the enemy, we will listen to voices. I mean, fear is what our news and our media just hound us with. If you remember in COVID, the one thing that came to mind was they had those little death tickers. Do you remember how sick that was and insane when they had those little things? And it was just like, they're just sowing fear and anxiety, and it gets you all tense and locked up. But the enemy, He'll speak little things into your mind and lie to you in your mind. And I went through three of them that to me is like, you'll always be this way. I mean, it's in your DNA. It is in your genes. Your parents were like that. Your grandparents were like that. Like, why do you think you would change? Why do you think coming to church is going to do you any good? You're always going to be this way. What those people said about you, you might as well just accept it and just kind of live out the best that you can with what you have, because that's all it's going to be. You're always going to be this way. Another lie that the enemy will sow into your mind and speak into your mind is God must be mad at you. I mean, because come on. If God really loved you, then why would he let that happen to you? If God really loved you, why would he let you feel this way for so long? He must not really like you. Here's another lie that we will believe that will keep us locked up and afraid. And men, if we're honest, we have probably thought this a lot. Not to say that the women don't, but I know for myself being a guy, you can't tell anyone about that. You can't say anything about that, and that will keep you locked up and afraid. Because if you do, and if we've done this in church, if you've shared, they might think you're crazy. If you've shared and you were vulnerable, they start to question your faith. Are you even spiritual? You can't ask those questions here. And you start to get put out because you have some of those questions. I'm not saying that's not real, but we're going to find that Jesus wants to speak peace into our lives. See, Satan, the voice of the enemy, Satan does not have victory. Jesus won the victory. So he can't win, but what does Satan do? His tactics are discouragement, division, disappointment, and doubts. He cannot win, but he will try to wipe you out and keep you stuck. And I feel like that's where a lot of us are today. Fear kept that door locked. But peace walked in. That's number 2. Peace walked in. I don't know how he came in. It says suddenly Jesus was standing there among them, and he said, "Peace be with you." Now, you didn't know Jesus was a ninja. Did you know there's ninja Jesus? Because I don't know how the doors were locked, and all of a sudden he's there. I don't know if he came through the walls. I don't know if he came through the door. I just know, hey, when I read the Bible, I like to have fun. So ninja Jesus shows up here. You never know. There's not a locked door that Jesus isn't afraid to speak peace into. Why peace? Why would he say peace to these guys? I thought it was an interesting thing. His first words are, "Peace be with you." Think about those disciples. Think about those guys, what they just went through and what they just endured. They had just denied Jesus. Like just 48 hours before, they were like, "No, we're with you all the way, man. We're never going to leave you. We're with you. We got you all. We got your back." And as soon as he got arrested, what did they do? They ran. They deserted their best friend. Peter, his best friend, didn't just deny him once. He denied him 3 times straight up. Denied even knowing Jesus. They had betrayed him. They had deserted him. And now Jesus shows up. I mean, Ninja Jesus is about to act a fool on these guys, right? Or I'm like, what is he going to do? Because we just screwed up. Are we out? You guys are out. I'm starting with a whole new group. That's what you might expect when he shows up, because you don't know what words are coming out of his mouth when he shows up. So they're afraid in this moment. But what does he say? He says peace. Not get out of here. Not you're disqualified. He says peace, and then he also says go. I mean, you got to think that their minds are blown away here by what Jesus says. What's he doing by saying peace? He's restoring their identity. He's giving them their identity back because it was in question. I don't know where I stand with him. I don't know where I stand with you, God. And in the middle of all this, he restores their identity, which, by the way, I want to invite you back next week, because in the coming weeks, we're gonna start a brand new series called Still Standing, because we've all been through some stuff. We've gotten knocked down, but how awesome is it to say, I'm still standing? The subtitle of this series is Finding Peace in the Middle of Crazy. Because we've been going through the ringer, and I want you to know that you have identity in Christ. And we're just building off of that today. Like today's just an intro to where we're going to go. But we are going after things and shooting after things, and we don't know who we are. And he's giving them identity and purpose in this moment, because they're in an identity crisis. I mean, a lot of us, we are in this. Hey, I'm here, Mike. I love Jesus. But I've been so wounded by the church and the people who say they love him too. And I don't know where I fit. I love Jesus, but I'm kind of new to this thing, and I'm a little bit skeptical of all those church rules. Like, I don't know what to do here and all this sort of stuff. And so I'm not sure about what all the rules are. Let me give you just a little bit of, this is a little bit of a bonus side tip here. One of my favorite scriptures, Ephesians 2, when it comes to rules, we have one rule here at Freedom Church: love people. That's the rule. Love one another just as I have loved you. That's what Jesus said. All right, can we just do that? Can we just do that? But Ephesians chapter 2, these are so good. It says, "But God is so rich in mercy, he loved us so much that even when we were dead because of our sins, he gave us life when he raised Christ from the dead." Now, there's a lot of people, if I were to ask the question, hey, how do you get to heaven? The number one answer, if you just go polled the entire world, is that, well, be a good person. Don't be Hitler, right? And most of us say, I'm not Hitler, I'm a good person. But that's not how Jesus says this works. It's not how many brownie points you have achieved. What is your, if we are kept on a scorecard, what's your score right now? That's a pretty messed up God, because nobody knows. I don't see what my score is, and even if I could see my score, what's enough to get in? How many points do I need? The Bible just makes it real clear and simple. Nobody makes it in. You're dead. You were dead. Dead things cannot resurrect themselves. How do I get in? How do I have life? It's not through the works that you do. It is through a relationship with Jesus. I was dead. I was not a bad person, and Jesus helped make me good or a little bit better. I was dead. And Jesus, in my death, gave me life. It's in him and him alone. Let's do one more, because this is just a few scriptures later, a few verses later, it says, for it is by grace you've been saved. How does this happen? It's grace. I didn't do it. It is by grace you've been saved through faith, not of works of yourselves. It is a gift from God. Have you ever gone into the bathroom? This is going to be gross, but I think I'll make the point. Have you ever gone to the bathroom after someone just like blew the place up? Okay, yeah, like it's bad, right? And you're like, there's no mistake what happened here. But have you ever gone in when someone blew the place up, and then they take one of these and they spray this around? You know what I'm talking about? This one is exotic tropical blossoms. All right. You walk into that room and you're like, there's something exotic in here, but it ain't tropical or. This is us in humanity with God, spiritually speaking. When we try to work for it and earn it, like, you're not fooling God with this stuff. You blew the place up, and you cannot cover it. There's no amount of spray that's going to cover. You're like, this is disgusting. Well, I'm glad we can joke about it, but in a serious sense, like that's sin with God. And he paid the price. He paid the price. He cleaned up the mess. And so I want us to understand that, because we do try to clean up our mess. And yes, here's what there are works to do. It says you received it by grace through faith. You believed. It is a gift. You receive it. That gift is offered to everybody today, which, by the way, in about 10 or 15 minutes, we're going to give you that opportunity to say, yes, I received that gift of salvation. It's not by works, so I can't boast about it, but here where the works come in. We are God's handiwork. Another translation would say, you're God's masterpiece. Even though you don't feel like you're God's masterpiece, you are. That's the enemy's voice trying to lie to you and tell you that you are less than, that you'll never change, that God must be mad at you. No. You are God's masterpiece. We got to listen to his voice. Created in Christ Jesus, here it is, to do good works. Now you have purpose. You have purpose in your life. No matter what you've done, no matter what you said, God knows it. He knew it, and you are here on purpose today, hearing this message, not by accident. God has prepared this in advance for you. Fear keeps the walls up. Fear locked the door. Peace walked in, and purpose walked out. He said, peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, I am sending you. You have a mission, and you have a purpose. See, the enemy is scared to death that you will actually figure out this God thing. You are here today hearing this message, and you'll figure out who God is. When you figure out who God is and you start listening to his voice, then you're actually going to start to know who I am. And then you're going to walk in freedom. You're going to walk in purpose, and he's scared to death that you'll know it. So he wants the walls up. He wants you stuck. Thank goodness for a guy named Thomas, because right after this, they met Jesus. They saw it, but one of the guys wasn't there. Let's continue reading. It says, one of the 12 disciples, Thomas, nicknamed the twin, was not in with the others when Jesus came. They told him, we have seen the Lord. This is what is awesome about Christianity. Christianity is an evidence-based faith. It is not some fairy tale made up. We saw it with our own eyes. We have eyewitnesses who wrote about it in the time when there were other eyewitnesses. It is historically documented. It is evidence-based faith. I can go to Muhammad's grave. I can go to Buddha's grave. I can go to Joseph Smith's graves, and they're still in there. But Jesus' grave, you go there, he ain't in there. These disciples, they had no reason to carry on this story. Because as you read more about them, it gets way worse on an earthly sense. They get executed and destroyed and persecuted for carrying. They had no reason. They had no power, no authority, except that it was true. Thomas, I love Thomas. He said, I'm not going to believe. I'm not going to believe it unless I see it. I want to see the nail wounds in his hands. I want him to put my fingers into them. That's kind of gross. And I place my hand into the wound on his side. To which Jesus says, hold my wine. 8 days later, the disciples were together again, and this time Thomas was with them. The doors were locked. Ninja Jesus comes in the door again. Suddenly, as before, he was standing among them. What's he say? Peace be with you. Then he said to Thomas, put your finger here. Look at my hands. Put your hand into the wound on my side. He knew. He heard him, and he addressed them straight up with what he needed to hear. Don't be faithless any longer, but believe. My Lord and my God, Thomas exclaimed. Then Jesus told him, you believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. Here's what I love about Thomas. You need to know this. If you're taking notes, write this down. Doubt is not disqualification. Doubt does not mean you're disqualified. You may never heard a pastor say this, but I believe doubts, yes, they can take you out, but I believe your journey of faith starts with doubts. Your journey of faith starts with doubts. I know a lot of people will have doubts, and the lazy part of doubt is, well, I don't know if I believe that or not, and the lazy part is you just walk away without actually going in to look into it. But if you would actually lean into your doubts, ask questions, deal with them, doubt, you'll find, is the door to deeper faith. Doubt actually can lead to discovery, which is why at Freedom Church we say, ask your questions. We do a series every summer, and it's a Q&A series. We call it Red or Green. And there's no question that's off limits. You get to ask whatever question you want, and you vote on whichever questions you want, and we will answer the top 6 this summer. Here's the Easter egg I told you about when I said, hey, text the word Easter to 505-278-7556. Usually we start collecting questions in May, but you get to start today. Because I was like, hey, whoever's in the room, I want to know what questions you have about God. Whatever questions you're dealing with, guess what? Somebody else is probably dealing with those too, and I want to answer those questions. And there's no question that's off God. We ask questions here because we believe they can lead to discovery. God's big enough. I may not know the answer to them, but God's big enough to take your doubts and your questions. Thomas asked the questions. I know we doubt God because He's so intangible. He's so invisible. And I get it. God's a mystery. We're never going to fully understand or solve it. I have those same questions myself, but I'm going to lean in. We questioned it. Was Jesus really God, Big G? Or is he just some crazy guy and the people there were just stupid enough to believe whatever he was telling them? We question God because he takes so long to change negative situations in my life. And it makes me wonder if he even knows or if he even cares if he's even there. Real things that you and I deal with. Thomas gives us permission to have our doubts and have our questions and lean in. The question is, can I really trust God? That's what a lot of these come down to. Can I trust God? These are real struggles that we deal with. But here, we got to give Thomas some credit. Because he had the questions, he stated it out loud, but he got back in the room. Did you know that? Like Thomas, 8 days later, got back in the room. It's a fight to get back in the room. You got to fight because we've been hurt. We went through some wounds and we carry some wounds. We have some church hurts. We have some church wounds. And the easy thing to walk away. And for a lot of us, I would say, why wasn't Thomas in the room in the first place? You ever wonder about that? That's Sunday night. Why wasn't Thomas there? You know, Thomas gets a bad rap, but I think we relate to him more than anyone else because I don't know this. I don't know this. It doesn't say this. I'm just speculating. But I'm going to say Thomas was there because he cared so much. Or he wasn't there because he cared so much. Why do you say that? Because, think about it. He saw the same things. He just saw Jesus die on a cross. The guy he had given up everything for. He just saw those other guys who were with him. Thomas was one of them, but he saw the other church people say, "Well, I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to do everything." And he saw them all run away. Maybe he was a little bit hurt at those other guys for not living up for what they said they were going to do. Maybe he cared and was invested so much when the pain came, it was too much to be in the same room that night. I don't know, but I'm just speculating. Sometimes we are not in the room because we cared so much and we got hurt. And it is hard to get back in the room again. And here we are, back in the room again. I want to say kudos to you, but you got to fight to stay in the room. Because here's the deal. All I need is Jesus is a lie. That's another lie from Satan. That was never the model. Jesus was betrayed by these guys, and what did he do? First thing, what did he do? He got back in the room with the guys that just wounded him. Always the model is with people. Thomas had 8 more days of anxiety. Thomas had 8 more days of wonder. I don't know. Did it really happen? Thomas had 8 more days of confusion and not understanding. And these guys who were in the room said, "We saw him." You don't have to go 8 more hours. You don't have to go 8 more days. You don't have to go 8 more months or years wondering, questioning. If you get back in the room. There's been so many people who have fought to get back in the room here at Freedom, and we found so much healing. We are not a perfect church. We are far from a perfect church. If you were here last week, you know we are not a perfect church. But we do this life together. We take one step at a time. We forgive one another. We love one another. We serve one another. We give. We're generous. And you see God work not only in us, but you see it through us. He gets back in the room. And now it's decision time because Jesus goes right after him. Put your finger here. Look at my hands. Put your hand into my wound by my side. Don't be faithless any longer, but believe. And what's his response? My Lord and my God, big G. The question of today is it true? And is it worth it? Is it true that he's alive and that he's God, big G? And is it worth it following? Because it costs a lot to follow him. These guys were giving up everything in their lives. And that's the choice that we have here today. You have a choice. Confronted with the same question, who is Jesus? Who is this guy? You could say, hey, I'm going to walk away today. That is a choice you can make. I'm hearing it, not believing it. I'm going to walk away. Walking away is a choice. And you can go another direction. You can work for it. You can try to earn the points. You know? Go for it. You can say, I'm not going to follow some other religion because that's basically, if you sum all other religions into it, you got to earn it. You got to do something to earn favor with God. Christianity is distinct from all of them because they said God just loves you. He just wants a relationship with you. You cannot earn it. Well, I'm not going to follow that. You can walk away and say, you know what? I'm going to do my own thing, which is fun. Granted, that's fun. Hey, I'm going to live life how I want, when I want, where I want. But that basically makes you God. And I know me, and I maybe not know you, but I do know you, and we're terrible gods. You live that life of I'll do what I want, when I want, where I want, how I want, and you've messed a lot of people up and yourself with a lot of pain, and you have felt empty when we try to act like God. Well, I just don't believe in God then. Atheism, great. You can go and you can walk in that direction too. That is a choice. But if you want to go in that direction and walk in that direction, you got to check those boxes that say, hey, guess what? All you are in that world where there is no God is you are a cluster of atoms that are just excited right now. And eventually they'll stop. Science will stop and then that's it. The people who you love, same thing. They have no value. They have no meaning. They have no purpose. There's no such thing as injustice. When you want to get mad about something or someone and they did this wrong and they messed up this and there's no such thing as you don't get that in a godless world. Your only hope is that God is there. And nobody lives like that. Nobody lives as if they are just a cluster of cells. Nobody lives as if the people that they love in their family have no value, that they're not loved, that they're not beautiful. Nobody lives as if this world is perfect and there's no injustices in this world. No, everybody is screaming and crying about something. We may disagree on what that is. Our only hope is that God exists. So you can walk away, but know what you're walking towards. You can walk towards Jesus. But a lot of people say a lot of things about who Jesus is. Let me be real clear. He's more than a teacher. He's just a good guy. He's a good teacher. Good life values. But let me tell you something. Actually, if he's not God, big G, he's a terrible teacher. Because if you read through the scriptures, who's he claiming to be? Why did they kill him? Not because he was like saying some good stuff, because there's a lot of people throughout history who have said some nice stuff, but we don't follow him like we do Jesus. No, he claimed to be God. He claimed to be this Sabbath rest. Like, I'm the one that this Sabbath points to. I'm the peace that you're looking for, and they killed him for it. If he's teaching people that he's God and he's not, he's a terrible teacher. We would say he's a liar if in that case. A lot of people might say, hey, he's not a liar, he's a lunatic. That dude was crazy. Or he's who he is. He is who he said he is. God. Not little g. Not little g. He is God, big G, in the flesh. Came to this earth on a mission, on a purpose to restore peace for humanity. Not saying you have to work to earn it, but I'll do the work for you. And by the way, while I do the work for you, I'm going to live a life that models how do you do this one rule, love other people. I'm going to live a life and talk and teach you in a way that models it for you so you can see when we go live this thing out, that's how we do it. And one day he's coming back. One day he's coming back. You can walk away, you can walk towards. And ultimately, Thomas's answer, my Lord and my God. I like that word, my. It needs to be personal. My Lord, my God. Teenagers in the room, not your parents' God, not your parents' faith. It's got to be personal to you. Spouses in the room. It's not your spouse's faith. I know they seem like they're so angelic and they're so good with God, and when they pray, it's awesome, and you've been doing your own thing for a while. Now he's calling you by name. You start where you're at. Don't compare yourself to other people and where you think they are in their faith journey. This is a personal relationship that he wants. It's a gift of invitation to everybody in the room. My Lord. I got to surrender. I know Mike Briggs. I want to do what I want, where I want, how I want. I don't want anybody telling me what to do. I want to be Lord. My Lord, he's the one. I surrender my life to him. The title of this message was All Locked Up. Those guys came into the room all locked up. Peace was spoken over them in the room. And for those that received that message of peace, purpose walked out. Why? Jesus, he had this thing all locked up from the start. That tomb, he wasn't trapped in that tomb. That was just a setup. That cross, what looked like a crisis, oh no, that was the plan the whole way. That locked room, that wasn't the end for these guys. That was a launching pad to change the world. Jesus had it all locked up, and what we've heard today is that for you, he's got a great plan for your life. He's got a gift he wants to give you, an identity and a purpose. And he says, when you walk out this door, let's do this life together. Jesus told Thomas, you believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who believe without seeing me. He's talking about you and I. He's talking about you and I. On Easter Sunday, I've heard it like 10,000 times already today. We say, hey, he is risen, right? He is risen. And everybody says, if you're church world, you're like, he's risen indeed. I think if Jesus walked through these doors today, he would say, are you risen? Yes, Jesus is risen, but are you risen? Do you have that life? Are you searching for life amongst the dead things, or do you have that life and are living with Him? One of my favorite passages in Scripture, Jesus says, let's go ahead and stand because I want to close out with this. Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary. Come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens. If we're honest today, we'd be raising our hands. That's me. I'm carrying something I was never meant to carry. I've got anxiety. I've got depression. I've got loneliness. I've got hurts. Come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear and my burden is light. Jesus offers a better way. He offers rest for your soul. It may not be easy, the path walking out these doors. The path of surrender may not lead to glorious circumstances in an earthly manner, but it is always better. If you try to hang on to your life, Jesus says you'll lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, oh, you will save it. And what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your soul? Here's the question. Is there anything worth more than your soul? Jesus is saying, I'm trying to give you rest for your soul today. On the other side of that step of faith, I know it's oh man, you'll know on the other side of that step of faith. That is why Jesus came. Let's pray together.
Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the message today. I hope you felt inspired to take your next step of faith with Jesus. Just a couple next steps that you can take coming out of this. One, leave a review or a comment or share this message. That really does spread the message further and faster when you do that. Secondly, if there's a next step that you need to take coming out of this, head on over to our website, click Get Involved, and let us know exactly how you can take your next step. We would love to partner with you in that. And finally, if you have been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, or your family has been impacted in a positive way through our ministries, go on over to our website and click Give. And if you want to partner with us financially, that would be huge in getting the message of Jesus out through our ministries. Thank you again for stopping by the podcast. Have a wonderful week. God bless.